Okay, it is recording. All right, so I'm here with Jay and Amy Novacek. First of all, it's a pleasure to talk to you both. Wonderful couple. You know, I follow your Instagram all the time. Seems like you guys have quite the life. How have you guys been holding up in this COVID environment?
Well, actually, our life hasn't changed a whole lot. When you have animals to always go out and feed and to take care of, and you know the life just keeps on rolling. You get on a ranch, and you got to be outside and you got to get work done.
What about you, Mrs. Novacek?
Same thing. I mean, right now we're raising puppies, and our horse shows, which Jay and I compete a lot when it's going. You know, those close down kind of like everything too, but they started back up just recently, and Jay and I are both preparing for our World Championship show at the end of the month.
Okay, so for those who know that you guys are definitely into the Western life, what do you mean when you say compete? Because I know people see your social media feed, but explain to the novice like me, what do you mean when you say you compete?
Well, so Jay and I, we compete, but in completely different arenas. I mean, he can explain what he does. He does the cutting with the cows, and then I do more of the show horse type, which is the English and the Western. There's 8, 9, 10 events that I do, and then he just does the one.
And they're all boring.
But you should see, he makes a really good horse show husband, because he is always carrying saddles and toting dogs and my horse. And I'm going to tell you, I mean, I don't want to bore you with the backstory, but you know, the backstory that got us to the service dogs, and to see literally what Jay does for me at the horse show. And people, I know he's very humble, but you know, the compliments that we get, I would never be able to fulfill my dream and my success without him, not 1 minute of it, because he truly gets me into the arena.
How did you guys meet? Like, I'm intrigued. How did you guys meet at a horse show? Did you meet in a competition? Were you competing for the gold medal together? How did this happen?
That's what we were doing. No, you know,
she's the only one that's won anything in the horse competition. I don't win anything.
That's not true. You know, so in December they have a celebrity cutting at the NCHA fraternity, and I think you won it. He's won it quite a few times. It's kind of impressive. Actually, he won it this last year. So if any of you guys are familiar with Yellowstone, that TV show, it's really kind of cool. So they're cast, and Taylor was there, and there was quite a few of them that competed. And he and his teammate, what's his name?
Jimmy,
the bald-headed guy, the goofy one. He's really way cool.
Yeah.
They actually teamed up together, and they ended up winning the celebrity cutting this last December. So it's kind of fun to watch.
That was probably the highlight, though, was for him to win it, and actually me be part of his team. It was, I mean, because he's real similar to what he acts like on TV. He doesn't have to act a whole lot, you know. He's from New York, and just one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet. And he was so excited. It was made everybody's day that he was able to win that cutting.
Yeah, it was cool.
Jay, have you always been a cowboy at heart? Because and preparing for this interview and texting Mrs. Novacek, I even asked, I was like, that's ironic. I mean, Wyoming Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, and now every time I see you, you got these cool brims on. Have you always been a cowboy at heart?
At heart, absolutely. You know, when I was playing and everything, you know, that everyone had the assumption that my off the field stuff was a way to get out of football, you know, to get my relief from being in playing with the Cowboys. And it was actually, that was who I was. And I did football for A, the love of it, and B, for a job. And, you know, football, sports have always been my whole life. My dad was a football coach, track coach, and I grew up sports the whole time. But I also grew up with we moved around a lot, so we never had a whole lot of horses, but every now and then we'd have a horse if we had a place to put it when we moved to another town. But I always had dogs. And so I was always outside hunting, fishing with my dogs. I was always, I always wanted to live back, in those old days where that's what you did to survive.
Amy, how would you compare Jay the athlete with Jay the outdoorsman?
Well, so I wasn't ever really, and still not really into football. So when they did the top 60 Cowboys the other day, I mean, it's just really cool for me to see the highlights and, look back. And I mean, I still don't get it, but they both are.
Yes, you do.
Our son, Blake, and Jay, they both just kind of do that. But I mean, I think he is truly an amazing athlete either way. I mean, it's funny because for his cutting, I mean, he is like he was in football. I mean, he's just very focused and very strategic and to the T on everything. And he thinks, almost play by play in the cutting pen as he did on the football field. And it's funny because with all the different events that I do, which are so completely opposite end of the spectrum of what he does, he's had to learn all of those events so he can help me get through them. And not just learn what they are, but I mean, the strategies and the patterns and what it takes for my horse and for me. And so it doesn't matter from my standpoint what he does, even baling hay. I mean, the dude has his focus and exactly ABC, what he wants to do. And as from my position to hear he and Michael Irvin talk about their locker room playtime and, giving each other a hard time. It's funny because Jay is like that. He's very organized in his thoughts, where I guess Michael was really scattered in his locker.
Yep.
But Jay's like that with everything he does. Well, his office is messy, but
that's what I was going to follow up with. You said Jay is very organized. When I think of like organization, I think of that movie Sleepless in Seattle, where she comes home and all the towels are in a row. Every towel is perfect.
No.
Well,
no.
Yes and no. I mean, I like my tools. And I know where my tools are. They're always hanging up. They're always in the right spot. And they have to be, because when I want to go get a tool, I need to know where it's at. It can't be laying around someplace else, or else you spend time looking for it. So my tools are good.
Okay, where are all the horse blankets?
They're in the bags waiting.
No.
Yes, they are.
He lost all the horse blankets. You did lose all the horse blankets because it's getting cooler and we have to blanket the horses, so we can't find them. Anyway, yes, his tools are organized. Everything. It's organized chaos.
Yes.
But I mean, when you live on 100 acres.
But my brain,
his brain is organized.
It's up there now.
But when you live on 100 acres with approximately 100 animals, it's nothing is ever on time. And I mean, you can't, there's one animal that needs this, there's these others that need that. And so ideally you'd like to do, 7 to 4, 7 to 5, never works that way. Ever.
I mean, it's always every morning. I have everything planned out when I'm going to get done. And 90% of the time, either a horse gets sick or something gets out. And so everything always gets delayed in the process. And usually that daily plan out never works.
So 100 acres, 100 animals. Are you guys in like the Fort Worth area?
Yes.
South of there.
Okay, south of Fort Worth,
Yes.
you own a ranch
Yes.
with 100 acres and 100 animals. I mean, that's unfathomable. Like, where did you come up with the concept of, what came first? I guess the 100 acres came first, but when did you know you were going to accumulate 100 animals?
Well, it's not we. No, it's not we. I mean, she has a camel. Why do we need a camel?
It needed rescued. It did.
Yes.
He's a retired circus camel, and he's so cool. He really is cool.
So
Not we.
it's not we.
No, it's not we. It's Amy.
Not we. Amy. I like that. So the one thing that Amy, you sent me that really touched my heart, and I know it's going to touch a lot of people's hearts, is the work that you guys do with service pets.
Yes.
Where did the passion come from for you and Jay raising service pets, and how much of an impact have you seen that have on people's lives?
I get goosebumps. How we started, actually, and I don't even know if there's a way to condense it, but you know, I was in a almost fatal car accident and really struggled. I mean, I had a traumatic brain injury, and you know, Jay would have to help me. I mean, when I walked,
I had to Christmas shop that year. That's how much I had to help.
he had to do everything. And so, you know, we just had to figure out a way to find something to give me some independence back and give him some independence back, so I could get up out of the bed and walk to the kitchen without crashing into a wall, you know. And we looked for a service dog because when you are in bed for a long time, I mean, you find things and think of things. And anyway, long story short, we ended up breeding kind of our own. It was difficult to find, and the specifications, what we needed and wanted, we didn't come across it very easily. And so we did. And once that first litter was born and we got it raised, it made just such a tremendous amount of difference and gave me some independence back and gave my family some independence back. And in the interim of all of that, I was diagnosed with a really rare disease called adrenal insufficiency, Addison's disease. And so I have to take steroids 3 times a day for the rest of my life. It's not a fun thing. It's a horrible disease. But I always try to compare it to a diabetic, except for a diabetic can test their blood every day, right? And so we can't. I mean, we have to go to the doctor or crash and burn and end up in the ER. And you've got approximately 30 minutes to get to the ER if you're in a crisis or you die. So it can be pretty traumatic. And so my service dog I have now, Hank, he will detect through smell. Yes, I admit this wonderful odor that only he can smell. So, and he will alert me if I need more meds or if I missed a med. And I will get to a point where I can get kind of hazy and I don't understand what's going on around me. And if I get to that point, then he will go get help. He'll alert Jay or a friend or family members that I need some help. And so with the independence that gave our whole entire family, we wanted to move forward and start doing this for other families. And we've been doing it for about 5 years now, and we get stories from all over the country. And the families that we talk to, and I always say we get to be a part of their family. We're just such a small part in this, in changing people's lives. That, you know, if you go, I'm not as good on Instagram, but if you go to our Novacek's 84 Labradoodles on Facebook, you can see some of the people and their stories. And it's just, it brings us joy every single day. And if you would have told me 6 years ago that we would be raising service dogs, I would have told you there's no way. But I would not go back on my disease diagnosis, even though it can be deadly, or my car wreck, because it brought us here today. And the challenges that getting us here, it's just, I don't know, it's just a gift. It's a gift that we are so thankful to have and be a part of.
Jay, I would imagine that, you know, hearing your wife's testimony, that there are other families you guys have assisted greatly in this process, whether it be, you know, military members who are suffering from post-traumatic stress, or other families who are battling ailments. what joy have you gotten when you see the service dogs that you and Amy breed and raise and later donate to these families, how it impacts them and how it picks their spirits up?
Well, I think that the most amazing thing is normally the people who come out to pick out a pup don't pick the pup out. The pup picks the person out. And when you can see that, and you can see, there might be 8, 9, 10, 12 puppies running around, and that individual, a lot of times being a child, sits down on the floor, and that one dog, that one puppy always keeps coming back to that individual. And that's one of the most amazing things that you can look at. And then to hear the stories later on, and to have a gal that, one of my favorite stories is, she was a very good athlete. Just before her senior year, she had an unbelievable rare disease and could not walk, was in wheelchair during graduation. And her goal was to walk across the stage on graduation day. And she was able to do that with her dog. And, that's an unbelievable story.
12 steps.
Yeah, she was unbelievable.
Her mother didn't know who we were. It was one Christmas, I had my service dog with me in the mall when we could go out, and she was upstairs, I was downstairs. She literally chased me down and found me, and her daughter was actually at the time in a coma, and she found me, and she just was in tears and asking me about what she could do and how the dog worked and whatnot. And so we connected, and we eventually got Sarah her dog. And now, I mean, she still has, some issues from the disease, but she's in college now and has her dog and uses it for mobility. But it's amazing. And to us, it's a God thing. I mean, where we are today with this, and to see the people, I mean, how, among thousands of people in a mall, these people keep ending up in our lives, or we end up in their lives. And I mean, it's story after story after story like that. And I mean, it truly is a God thing to us.
When I hear that, I think about you guys come to, you come into focus as just down to earth people who want to help others. And that's a blessing in and of itself. And I think about, Jay, when I look at those teams you were a part of, and I see, some of the players that I've interviewed who were your former teammates, and I look at your life, and I look at a guy who I don't see that craves the limelight. Like, I see a lot of athletes, and I see a lot of athletes post-career, and they look like they crave the limelight. Now, some are just naturally gifted, and they still go into other fields, and then others I see, they just can't get enough of it. What is it about you that comes across, because that's how you come across to me, is that you don't crave the limelight?
I think a lot of it, we've already talked about this, was, growing up, where I wanted to be, what I want to do, my lifestyle, who I like me to be is outside and with animals. And so I always knew that that's what I was going to do after playing in the career I had. And so I was always striving to start that up and to continue that. And, everyone likes to be noticed. Everyone likes to do an achievement that people, praise you for. I mean, that human nature. But there's also that time where if you can't be the one below that and looking up to somebody else, looking up to a gal that all she wanted to do was walk across the stage and graduate. I mean, an achievement like that is anything more than I've ever done. And we were able to help her do that. And, it's this is who I am. I don't think I've changed a whole lot in my life. And, one of the things that I enjoy, I can't remember who said it. He was a rookie, and I was in my 10th year, and we're halfway through training camp probably. And he looked at me, asked me, he said, "How many years is this?" And I said, "Well, this is my 10th season." And he goes, "How did you make it that long?" Because training camp can be tough, and you sit there and you look at it, it's like, wow, if I can help him. I always wanted to be the guy that when those young kids came in, that I wanted to help them to make it a little bit easier for them. Because I know how hard it was for me my rookie year. And every year it seemed to get just a little bit easier, but not a whole lot, especially during training camp. And, I wanted to be that type of a player.
What is the transition like? Because you've made it successfully, obviously with major help from Amy. What's the transition like to go from being a 3-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Pro Bowl football player, who's been an excellent athlete? I didn't know you were such a great pole vaulter, to be quite honest with you, but who's an excellent athlete, lifelong excellent athlete. And then you phase out of athletics into civilian life. What is that process like?
Well, first of all, it's not a phased out thing. The minute you retire, you're done with it. I mean, it's that fast. Going back into the locker room after I did retire, and the first time I went back in the locker room, everything was exactly the same. The joking, everyone, the hugs, all that stuff, until practice started. And then it was done. And I knew right there that, you're not phased out. It's done. You are not part of that team anymore. And that was very hard for me. I mean, because I thought, you always think, I think a lot of players, golly, if I can just get a couple more years in, then I can retire, and I get a couple more, and I get a couple more, and you keep thinking that way. And then you finally have that opportunity. And as much as I love the hunting, the fishing, the horses, the animals, to be able to live what I've always wanted to live like, and that's going to be easy. And I think for me, it was a lot easier than some players, because like I said, you go back to that locker room and you are not part of that team anymore. And it happens just like that.
Your dog who drinks out of the fridge. How'd you teach that? How'd you teach that?
Actually, that is not our dog. It's one of our pups that.
That's Margot.
And she went to a guy that I do some promotional stuff with Boone's Air Conditioning and Heating and Matthews Air Conditioning and Heating, and so he got that pup, and I think his daughter has it.
No, it's his wife.
Okay.
His wife,
okay.
Judy, Margot. So they said that it's so funny because she said that they would be in the living room and the dog would show up with ice. And they're like, where is she getting this ice? And it kept happening. Well, so they kind of did this little spy thing and went around the corner and caught her in the refrigerator. She'd jump up and get the ice out of the refrigerator. And that's what she was doing. I mean, she just saw them. These dogs are wickedly smart, obviously, but I mean, it's just hysterical. But she travels with them everywhere. They go everywhere. The dog is their shadow.
One of the things that I had to play, I'm going to tell you, I played it probably 10 times. I even told Amy I was going to ask you about it, Jay. Old Country Road. Is that you dancing?
What's Old Country Road?
No,
I don't dance. The only dancing I do, I break dance every now and then.
it's so bad.
Who was that on that Instagram video?
Oh, that was that one.
That was what it's like an app, I think. I don't know. It's an app. It's a funny app. Somebody sent us something, and so he went through and picked a song, and then it kind of makes it for you. It was hysterical.
So yeah, so she's taking video of me doing just moves. I mean,
Moving.
just moving
And
around.
you should see how really bad it truly was,
I mean,
because
it's
the
horrible.
boy can't move.
And so then this app, it takes what you do and it puts it in what it wants you to do. And
It's
I looked
hysterical.
good, didn't I?
So I was like, man, Jay, you should have been on Dancing with the Stars because you were moving, but that wasn't actually your moves.
No,
No.
absolutely not. It was funny, wasn't it? That was so.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
It
I
was
was like,
funny.
look at
Because
Jay.
when we got it from our friend, we're like, there's no way he can dance like that. And we had to keep watching it too. And then from there it went. It was funny. Because it was a challenge. And he didn't tell us it was an app. And it's like, okay, Jay, I challenge you. And so we had to figure it all out. But then that was his reply. His rebuttal was that his dance, and they're like, whoa.
I won that deal.
Yeah, I did.
Well, you definitely had me impressed. When Jay, as we look back at what seems like a lifetime ago, I remember it because that's the age bracket I'm in. I'm 46 years old, so for me, the Cowboys Dynasties, that was the prime of my fandom with sports.
Mm-hmm.
What was so great about that era?
At that time, it was in that era where, free agency was just starting to be kicked in. That I always call it that old time, the old timers. I just caught the last end of that in 1985 was my rookie year. And I got to see all those players that, the face masks weren't hardly anything. And just the way, they're just starting to have off-season training and being able to do all things like that in the NFL. And then we converted into having free agency, and you converted into, not having the team be as tight because of free agents going elsewhere. And so, and now you look at it now and it's completely different. You don't have that 5, 6, 10 years with the same team anymore. And that whole time it was so special because, they were still trying to knock your head off when you're coming across on a crossing route. And I mean, they could hit you no matter what. And, nowadays it's not like that. And so to have that team together, and looking at some of those old films, I mean, we're watching the top 60 deal and watching one of the Super Bowls after that, and Scott Case is just destroying the receivers. And you sit there and wow, that's tough stuff back then. And then to sit there and I always say there's fights on the field at practice, but there was never a fight in the locker room. And that's the type of team we had. And, I joke around a lot with Michael Irvin and when he was lockering right next to me, and here you got a redneck from Nebraska and an inner city kid from Miami, and you end up becoming best friends because of one thing. And that's how you played on the football field. And, that to me, that's special stuff. And you don't get that in a lot of other different professions.
Amy, I know you said you're not necessarily, heavily into the nuances of the game of football, but when you're married to a 3-time Super Bowl champ who was a 5-time Pro Bowler at his position, what have you taken out of that? I'm sure you have to be much more of a football fan than you were prior to your union with Jay.
Absolutely. I think I have utmost respect for anybody that's talented and dedicated. Any athlete, what it takes, whether it's horses, football, basketball, golf, tennis, track. I mean, to be successful.
Baseball's not an athletic event.
Yes, it is. Anything. I know. Let's not offend anybody. I don't want to do that. I love baseball. I do like baseball. I actually like baseball before football. But, you know, I think to be successful at anything, you have to be very disciplined. And so to see, even in business, I mean, you know, just business, to be successful, you have to be disciplined. And to see, you know, like I was saying earlier, I mean, Jay's disciplined every day. I mean, he gets up almost every day at the same time and does his day and is diligent about it. And so, you know, that's my takeaway. I mean, I love watching these guys bigger than life and to celebrate and to work. And I love watching people be successful, you know? And so for me, when a guy celebrates because they had a great play or a touchdown or somebody's winning in the horse arena, I love more than anything anywhere to see people succeed. And to take that on, for me, it's almost like I'm in that moment, because it's like, oh my God, that's so cool, because look how excited they are, you know? That's what's amazing, is to see the hard work pay off.
What do you think when you see clips of number 84?
I think it's cool. I mean, it's just, I get so excited. Like the other day when we were watching that, I was like, look, there you are. And he just kind of rolls his eyes and shakes his head.
I was just standing there.
No, it doesn't matter. It's just cool. I mean, like, so I'm rewinding so I could take a picture with my phone. He's like, stop. I'm like, no, just let me do this. And I took the remote and I did it and I took my picture. But I mean, I thought it was cool. I think it was, we have a big picture in the hallway of he and Troy hugging. It was after some big play, and Troy wrote a really nice sentiment to Jay on it. And it was that play they put on the TV. So it was really, I mean, for me, it was kind of cool, because I mean, I walk by every day. So you see that in action. I don't know. I like it.
So you go into the College Football Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken, Jay, at the same time as Troy Aikman. You know, how was that experience?
That was awesome. That was, you know, what a pleasant surprise, to be nominated and elected. And then it was great with Troy being in the exact same classes as myself. And, you know, that we had a lot of fun. It was very, very special.
Now I got to ask you guys, Troy, I know you and Troy have a special bond, a bond that's going to last for the rest of your lives. Even in looking at your social media, I see that almost everything you post, Jay, it's liked by Troy Aikman. It's like Troy Aikman like that, he like that, he like that. Now, I'm not going to say who, but a little birdie told me that Troy Aikman has a name of affection for you. What would that name be?
I didn't tell it.
What?
I didn't tell what it was.
Yeah, I don't mean, you mean nickname type thing?
Yes.
What does he call you?
I have a lot of nicknames. Some good and some bad, obviously. But he calls me Gunny.
Gunny?
Yeah, Gunny. And you'll have to ask him. I can't even remember now how that one got started.
Even today.
When I see Troy,
I don't think I've ever heard Troy address him as Jay. So he's like, hey, Gunny.
Gunny. Okay. All right. I'll have to get down to the deeper part of that story as time goes on. One thing I have to ask you about, and when I've been reading up, preparing for this interview, one of the things that touched my heart, and I'm sure it touches a lot of people's heart, is the love and support that has poured in for your son, Blake. Where does Blake stand right now in his process, and how much further along has he come?
You know, he's had some remarkable progress. A lot of it is he's getting older and understands, that his life has to move on. And, so that has been a amazing change in him. He's gotten better. He doesn't have as many seizures every day. There's, maybe 2 or 3 a week now. And, it's why people do things, it's just not right, but he's getting better. Thank you.
Mrs. Novacek.
Sorry. It's hard. I mean, to get better. He's doing a lot better, but he was in y'all's industry and wants to go back there again someday. And even the things that we see every day on TV, it just doesn't make sense. And I asked Jay, sometimes I'm like, we spend our lives every day trying to help others, and sometimes I can't, and we can't even help our son. And it was the other night he had a seizure, really bad seizure. Not that any of them are good, but we knew it was coming. And I walked in at 1:30 in the morning, and he'd already had it, and he was just so stiff, and his hands were turned up underneath him. And I'm not going to go into details, but for a parent, and I guess it's gotten better, but when you get up 2 or 3 times almost every night wondering if your child's still going to be alive or not, it takes a toll, And so for me, I find solace in the puppies and helping other people. He's got one that we're going to train for seizure alert. I'm sorry. It just it doesn't get easier. But he's alive, so we have that chance.
One thing I know everyone commends you guys on is the strength that you've shown. How have you, as a couple, prevented yourselves from being ultimately bitter over that alleged hazing incident that left your son with brain damage? How have you prevented yourself from just being mad at the world? How have you found that strength?
Well, the world's not bad. There's a few people that are bad.
It's okay. It's okay.
We don't, there's so many great individuals that we see on a regular basis, that shows us what people are actually like, what humans are like. You have to have a strong faith when you have, and that there's a Father in heaven that loves you no matter what, that he sent his son on earth knowing that he's going to be murdered, basically, and he's going to do it for everyone's sins, not just ours, but everyone's. And when you have that's what gets you by.
We have to be positive too. Blake suffers not only with epilepsy, but severe PTSD. And, it's such a balancing act. We have to teach our children that, everybody has something, right? And so I know when I speak to people, with my stuff, with everything that everybody's been through, we can, go sit in that corner and feel sorry for ourselves, or we can get up and, help other people with what we've learned and what we're going through. And I know Blake has said, I will never forget where we were. I don't remember the exact day, but maybe 8 or 9 months ago, we were at a stoplight, and he said, Mom, he said, I forgive
the guy that did this to me. And he said, I truly believe God has me on a path to help others with what's happened to me. And I'm glad we were at a stoplight, or I probably would have wrecked, because I was thinking, you know, for somebody so young and that has had something, I mean, his whole world changed, how amazing that was. I'm not going to tell you that he hasn't had some, you know, meltdown since then, because he does. I mean, it's hard, but, you know, he wants to help others with what he's been through too, when he can, you know, and it's harnessing that. I always tell people, what we put out there is what we get back. So if we're hateful and, you know, miserable and think the world's a terrible, bad place, and that's what your life is going to be. So we have to get up and we have to pick ourselves up and put out there gratefulness and thankfulness every single minute of every single day. And that's what we're going to have. Doesn't mean we're not going to have hard times, but if we just are miserable human beings and hate the world, then that's what our life is going to be, I think.
Lastly, on this topic, what would be your message? What would be your message to other parents out there who has a young man or young daughter, and their young daughter or their young, you know, son is thinking about pledging to a sorority or fraternity, especially when we keep hearing stories, and we've heard stories over the years about the problems with hazing and how it seems to be a fundamental problem, depending on who you ask. What would be your message to other parents?
Well, yes, there's a history, and, you know, you can't deny that those things happen, but it's not all of them. It's the kids there, and a lot of times it's the alumni there. Mm-hmm. And that's what's really bad. It's so hard to have a child not be influenced by things. But if you can get to that child to say, if things are not right, talk to us about it. Come back to mom and dad and talk to us about it. And then we can decide what we need to do before it becomes too much. And it's very, very difficult for a child to do that. But that would be the one thing I would stress is, please keep us involved with what's going on, because there are some people that are not nice people, and we can help you with it.
I think the system just, I don't know. I think that the system just needs to be restructured. What we still are seeing and hearing is, especially, on the national level, they're doing and saying, maybe not doing, but saying all the right things to appease people. And just recently, this last week, the same fraternity, but at a different school, there was a kid non-responsive and had to be, I don't know how he's doing now, but this is still happening every few months in a lot of the fraternities, more so than the sororities. And they all say, like I said, what everybody wants to hear, but and I don't have that answer. I just know that there has to be some epic change and some turnaround. And until that happens, and until people still tell us, they come to us and they're like, oh, this is still happening. If you knew, and it's not, there's not really any group, but there's a bunch of parents, that speak on this. And I believe that there's only 3 boys of this really large group that are still alive, and ours is one of them. The rest of them are dead. And that's really bad. If it, if girls were, and they are being, we just heard recently too, that a lot of these fraternities are putting in roofies, I think they're called, in drinks or something, and raping these girls. And we're not hearing about that either. Why is this behavior okay? Any of it. I mean, your daughters are going to college and this is going to happen, and it happens more than you even know. And boys are being murdered and their lives are changing like Blake's. I mean, it's just not being talked about enough. So thank you for bringing it up, as hard as it is. And I apologize. It's just, I wasn't prepared for that, and it was okay, but it is. I mean, it's happening and people need to know.
Well, you guys are definitely, the way you've handled the situation, and I follow you through social media, and I'm touched, and everyone's rooting for you, and everyone's rooting for Blake, obviously, and we'll continue to keep your entire family in our thoughts and prayers going forward. One thing, I guess on a lighter note, Jay, you have a new venture. You've been holding out on us. You have a new venture.
Yes, I do. And it kind of goes back to those roots again, back in those, 1800s, and, you see those cowboys, and what do they always drink? Whiskey. So I have been wanting to do this for quite a while. And so here in the near future, hopefully, if everything goes as it goes, I'll have my own whiskey with my own label and everything that will be hopefully out into a lot of stores that people might be able to try.
I'll be able to roll by the nearest goodies and specs. I
hope so. It's a long process to get these bottles into liquor stores. So it will hopefully it'll go and be a smooth transition, and we'll be able to see some of the stuff I enjoy, if you know what I mean.
So I have to ask you, Jay, taking a look at your playing style, you were Mr. Reliability. Now, taking a look at, I know you're not going to give me the name of what your whiskey will be. I was told already, Amy told me he's not giving up the name. So I'm not even going to ask you about the name of what your whiskey will be. But how would you correlate the taste of your whiskey when people finally get to partake in it with your playing style from your illustrious career?
Well, I hope the whiskey's better.
Wow.
Yeah, you were pretty good, man.
It's pretty good. Yeah. It's pretty smooth, and
you can tell them what the label looks like.
Well, it's going to have obviously myself with a horse, and it's going to actually have my number on it too.
Okay.
And it's a correlation with the whiskey. So that's about all I can say right now.
Okay.
And it's that old rustic, looks like a, the old throwback, looks like a, you're coming out of your log cabin, and you got your long handles on, and
oh my gosh,
yeah.
Long handles. Do people even say that anymore?
I did.
What is a long handle?
Yeah, with the flap in the back and the whole thing, where
that's a long handle?
The long handles, yeah.
Those are pajamas.
No, they're actually cowboy onesies.
No, you see these catalogs come in, and they do these matchy matches for families. The mom, the dad, and the two little kids have the matchy pajamas. They're like flannel pajamas. Long handles?
They're long handles.
That's like on the end of a shovel. That's a long handle. What's a long handle? You wear that?
Yeah, I don't wear them now. Unless I'm in the cabin out hunting, then I might put some on.
You know what? If this is like the typical. Go ahead,
and you have your 6-shooter strapped around the side of your long handles, and you got your bottle there with the cup. Well, sometimes you use a cup. Most of the time you just drink it out of the bottle. But you got, and that way, you go outside, and snakes and stuff, you can get snakes.
Oh, if you're drinking that out of your belt loop or whatever, you're not going to be able to catch any snake. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, he should have been back in like Tombstone age. He's just totally replaced.
You guys, if this is like the typical Mr. and Mrs. Novacek conversation, I mean, we've been missing out for a long time.
It really is.
Guys, I guess I'll close in saying, how would you, sum up? We don't get a chance to really interview couples a lot of times, quite honestly. We interview former athletes. And one of the things that is refreshing for me is not necessarily rolling down, I could sit here all day with Jay. Hey, Jay, how was Jimmy Johnson? How was Barry Switzer? How was this guy? How was that guy? What I'm more intrigued about is who people are now. And when I look at you guys and I look at the kinship you have and clearly the love you have and the closeness you have and the camaraderie and the bond, what would be your one piece of advice for couples everywhere? Couples who are married, couples who are, let's say lifelong partners, thinking about getting married. What is the key to a successful relationship that looks like yours?
Eat your wife a camel.
Wow. I totally forgot what I was going to say. Okay, that's it.
That's
I have
it?
two things. One is laugh at each other all the time. We laugh at each other. I think he laughs at me more, but we laugh at each other all the time, no matter what. And be okay in yourself enough to let your spouse have space. It's okay. Let them be. I mean, I do my thing, he does his thing, and then we come back and share it together. I hear so many times people are like, my husband or my wife goes and does this and I have to sit at home. And okay, I mean, find something to do. I mean, it's okay, because when they come back to you, everybody rejuvenates. You go rejuvenate yourself and then laugh at each other.
Unfortunately, though, we have a lot in common. She enjoys hunting and she enjoys the horses and she enjoys the dogs. She enjoys the outside life. And so when we are apart, we're still kind of doing the same thing, if you know what I mean. And that's been very much a blessing. And then, I think that you cannot be selfish. That's probably the thing that keeps us going more when we have our little difficulties is, if you're selfish, it's going to make the other person selfish. So if you're always giving, then, and it doesn't happen all the time, trust me, but when you're always giving, then, that person sees it, it comes back to you tenfold.
Sure. Absolutely.
That was awesome. Mr. and Mrs. Novacek, that was awesome. I'm very inspired now. I need to stop being selfish.
Yeah,
I clearly need to stop being selfish.
I'm not being selfish now, because let's see, when was the last time I did an interview?
Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's got late 90s.
I don't know. I'm telling you though, he is just, I wish I could take a picture of the look on his face when I'm like, hey, will you do this? He growls. He growls.
You tricked me.
I didn't trick you.
Yes, you did.
See, misunderstanding.
Well,
Communication.
I'm glad you tricked him. Jay, I'm glad you went for it, because this is awesome. And you guys have a powerful story to tell. And this will be on our living room sports segment. And I will definitely let you know exactly when it's running. And I'll send you the links that I've been sending. I'll send you the links when it airs. And I think this will reach a lot of people, and your message is powerful. I want to know what it feels like to have one acre, 100 acres.
I told Jay.
A lot of mowing.
I told Jay, I said, we ought to do this someday, you should come out and we should do it around the animals, do it like a virtual tour of the ranch.
Oh, that would be amazing. I mean, because I don't even know what, I saw your one picture, Jay, where it says social distancing. And I was like, it just seemed like it was endless. Like it was like, well, where's the next building?
Yeah,
I don't know what 100 acres.
Yeah, I was at the ranch, which is down south of Meridian, and yeah, there's not a whole lot of people down there, so it even made it look even more like that, and baling hay and everything, and yeah.
But just 100 acres, guys.
Wow,
Thank you so much. And would you mind? So, in order to tell the story, especially about the service animals, where would be the best place for me to get the pictures? To when we edit it together and we go to put shots of
If you go to the Facebook, the Novacek's 84 Labradoodles, that's where we do most of our stuff. But if you need some more, just let me know and I can get you all the pictures you want.
Okay, I will start there, and I will definitely. I'm definitely including your dance, Jay. Now I am including your dance because I was like, everyone. I sent it to all my buddies, and they were like, "That is not Jay." I'm telling you, that's Jay Novacek. But that was an app.
Yes.
And I was like, "Look at Jay go!" So that was really cool. So
the only thing that was missing was his 6-shooter and his bottle of whiskey and the whole thing, and then it would have really been authentic.
His own whiskey.
Yeah. Let's go Google what long handle is. When we get off, I'm gonna Google what long handle is.
When Jay said long handle, I thought of like a spoon. I thought of a long handle.
I'm thinking of a shovel.
In his pajamas?
I guess. I mean, see.
Look at when's the last time you ever watched an old Western?
Never.
I know my dad loves Westerns.
Yeah.
They say long handle in the Westerns?
Well, they don't say them, but it's that undergarment that you see in those old Westerns. Like if you have their shirts off, it's a one piece that, they sleep in them, and they got the little flaps in the back so you can sit down and take a dump.
Wow. Okay. I was going to say, what is the flap for? Is that like the fireplace where you put stuff in there to keep warm?
It's the trap door back there, so you can.
Like the stove where you open it and put wood in. Never mind.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
Thank you. I will let you know exactly when it's running, and I will definitely reach out to you for any photos I need and anything.
Okay, for sure.
So thank you, guys. Thank you.
Bye now.
Take
Have
care.
a great day.
You too.
All right, guys. Bye.